Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the OECD seminar, Achieving Quality Financial Inclusion and Literacy in the Digital Era, as one of the seminar series in the Digital Financial Inclusion Festival, a part of Asean Fest 2023. To all invitees who are present in Hall B, Jakarta Convention Center, you are very much welcome to occupy the available seats in our seminar hall. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin our event shortly. So once again, for those of you who are present in Hall B, Jakarta Convention Center, you are very much welcome to enter the seminar area and occupy the available seats. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin our event shortly. So once again, please take your seats in the seminar room. And for those of you who are still around the foyer area, please, you are very much welcome and we kindly invite you to enter the seminar room and occupy the available seats. Thank you. Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon us, Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. First and foremost, allow us to extend our greetings to our distinguished guests. Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia, Ibu Filianingsi Hendarta. Head of SMEs Development and Consumer Protection, Ibu Yunita Resmisari. Distinguished moderators and panelists, and all our respected audiences who are joining us here in Jakarta Convention Center and through virtual platform. Allow me Nadira Titalia, and it is my greatest honor to be your host for today. A very good morning once again to all of you and welcome to the OECD seminar, Achieving Quality Financial Inclusion and Literacy in the Digital Era. This is the second seminar of Digital Financial Inclusion Festival, a part of Asean Fest 2023. This event is a collaboration between Bank Indonesia, ASEAN member states, and OECD that aims to disseminate as one of Indonesia ASEAN Chairmanship 2023, which is the implementation guideline to strengthen the digital financial literacy in ASEAN, which developed by OECD with the support of all ASEAN members. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my greatest pleasure to also share with you that this seminar is also aims to share experience, information, lesson learned of policy development and initiatives related to digital financial literacy and education around ASEAN member states to advance quality financial inclusion. Well, before long, to begin, we are very honored to invite the Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia to give her opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Ibu Filianingsi Hendarta.
Distinguished speakers, Dr. Chiara Monticone, Senior Policy Analyst OECD, Mrs. Yunita Resmisari, Executive Director, Head of MSME Development and Consumer Protection Department of Bank Indonesia, Mr. Nur Rafiz Nasri, Director Financial Inclusion Department, Bank Negara Malaysia, Mr. Heng Bomakara, Deputy Director General, National Bank of Cambodia, Mr. Kamfilai Kadaudom, Head Division, Bank of Laos PDR, Mr. Isan Amer, Associate Brunei Darussalam Central Bank, Mrs. Bianca Isainku, Policy Analyst OECD. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greeting to everyone. Shalom. Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya. Greetings of virtue. A very good morning to all of us. First of all, let us begin by praising God Almighty, for it is with His blessing that we may congregate here at the Asian OECD seminar on achieving quality financial inclusion and literacy in the digital era. It gave me a great pleasure to warmly welcome you all to this seminar, representing our collective commitment to advancing financial inclusion and literacy in the swiftly transforming digital landscape. On this occasion, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our esteemed speakers who have honored us with their presence today. Your participation confirms your invaluable contribution to this event, and I am deeply grateful for your time and knowledge. With immense pride, I extend a cordial welcome to all attendees of this seminar. This gathering reinforces our dedication to promoting financial inclusion and improving literacy in the digital transformation era. The limitless possibilities afforded by digital technology and information are instrumental in shaping a more inclusive financial ecosystem. This seminar is a vital platform to exchange insight, address challenges, and develop strategies to achieve our collective vision. Ladies and gentlemen, the utilization of digital financial services, we call DFS, is rapidly expanding in the member states of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN. The use of digital financial services is expanded swiftly in Asian member states. It is imperative for us to ensure that our community have the knowledge and digital financial skill necessary to navigate the rapidly changing financial landscape safely. The DFS has potential to significantly expand the financial inclusion in Asian member states. These services provide access to a greater variety of financial options, expedite payment procedure, reduce costs, and accelerate business transactions. However, extensive digitalization in the financial sector carries new risks and challenges, such as an increased risk of fraud, data breaches, and user error, particularly for those with limited digital and financial literacy. Hence, it is crucial for every individual to have adequate digital and financial literacy. Digital financial literacy empowers individuals with the necessary skill to decide when selecting digital financial services that suit their needs. thereby promoting their financial well-being. We appreciate the proactive steps implemented by Asean in 2023 to address the challenges and risks associated with the digital financial literacy. The OECD's implementation guideline reaffirmed our collective commitment to bolstering Asian digital financial literacy. The purpose of the guideline is not only to improve the digital financial literacy, but also to promote digital financial inclusion, economic integration, and financial resilience among policymakers in the Asian member states. We also acknowledge that the initiative to improve digital financial literacy in Asian region face several challenges. There need to be more comprehensive data and evidence regarding the digital financial literacy levels of the population. In addition, certain Asian member states face challenges in formulating strategic and coordinated approaches to digital financial literacy. However, we believe that by adhering to the proposed guidelines, we will be able to overcome these challenges and foster the development of the enhanced digital financial literacy. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for the last decade, developing countries have shown a significant improvement in financial inclusion. In Indonesia, financial inclusion and literacy have also been improving. The National Survey on Literacy and Financial Inclusion, we call it an ILIK, in 2022 revealed that the financial inclusion index in Indonesia rose to 85.1% in 2022, a substantial increase from the 76.2% recorded in 2019. This demonstrates how digitization of our financial sector has played a crucial role in enhancing financial inclusion in Indonesia. While we celebrate this progress, it is essential to recognize the ongoing need to improve the financial literacy in Indonesia. Despite this notable improvement from the 2019 to 2022, as an LIK findings indicate that our comprehension of financial aspects still need to be improved. We must be aware that implementing digital financial necessitates as in-depth understanding of its inherent risk. Amid the digital age's rapid advancement, Indonesia confronts various challenges in improving digital financial literacy. At least 4 significant obstacles must be addressed to accelerate the digital financial literacy in Indonesia. Namely, first, technological access limitation continue to impede remote location. This hinder effort to educate and train individuals in digital financial literacy. However, infrastructure enhancement are also required. Second, cultural and linguistic diversity present challenge for designing and distributing digital financial literacy material pertinent and understandable to diverse groups in society. Third, concern regarding the security and privacy of digital financial services continue to be obstacle. Increasing instances of cybercrime and financial fraud have heightened these worries. Lastly, rapid technological advancement necessitate an adaptive and continuous approach to creating and distributing digital financial literacy material to ensure their continued relevance. Ladies and gentlemen, since 2022, Bank Indonesia and Oecd, the FSA of Indonesia, has been developing digital financial services educational materials. With the assistance of the World Bank, we have developed various carefully tailored public education formats. The objective is to reach non-DFS user, passive DFS user, and those who may utilize these digital services. This material primarily elucidates the benefit and inherent risk of DFS. Moreover, they encourage individuals to implement DFS responsibly. In general, the consumer who are susceptible to risk associated with digital payment services and other digital financial services frequently lack knowledge regarding this financial or digital product and how to prevent fraud. This highlights the importance of well-targeted response to strengthen consumer protection. Bank Indonesia has detailed 5 strategy measures toward this end. First, regulation in accordance with the law and best practices. Second, responsive and effective supervision. Third, education and literacy. Fourth, complaint handling. And fifth, synergy and collaboration. Educating consumers to improve their financial literacy is essential for enhancing their financial knowledge and enabling them to safeguard themselves. A well-informed consumer can optimally utilize financial services according to their requirement while ignoring misleading information, preventing the misuse of data or information consent, and preventing fraud. Bank Indonesia has implemented a dynamic financial education program encompassing benefit, risk, and security in payment product and services, particularly digital ones. Our methods have ranged from talk show and webinar to producing education video, posters, brochure, as evidence of our commitment to inclusivity. The current recipient of the program include the general public, student, micro, small and medium enterprises, civil servants, and law enforcement officers. Empowering MSME demonstrate Bank Indonesia commitments to improving literacy. In collaboration with the World Bank, Bank Indonesia began a transformative mission in 2022 by carefully constructing MSME-specific training program. This lesson addressed important topics carefully designed to educate and support the MSME. This teaching material covers saving accounts and Indonesian standard QR code payment. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we draw this meaningful gathering to a close, let us collectively reflect on the 3 most important insights from our discussion on digital financial literacy in Asean. First, opportunity and challenges of digital financial inclusion. Digitization of financial services over Asian enormous opportunity for financial inclusion. Our discussion has highlighted how these services provide a new financial option, expedite payment procedure, reduce transaction costs, and accelerate business transaction. We also recognize the additional risks and obstacles posed by such innovation. As we progress, let us capitalize on this opportunity while proactively resolving the challenges through digital and financial literacy. Second, the importance of digital financial literacy for economic growth. Our discussion has revealed that digital financial literacy is not limited to using digital tools, but also require understanding their potential, risks, and benefits. It enables people to make well-informed decisions tailored to their requirement and financial well-being. We have emphasized the importance of collaboration between government, financial institution, and public in promoting digital financial literacy. This partnership functions as a catalyst for economic growth by ensuring that the benefits of digital aids are accessible to all, therefore fostering inclusive development. The third, collaborative efforts for an inclusive financial future. Collaboration emerged as a recurrent theme throughout our discussion. By cultivating awareness, comprehensive, and the appropriate skill, we pave the way for the Asian-wide financial ecosystem that is secure, resilient, and accessible to all social segments. Our seminar has demonstrated the effectiveness of collaboration as we have shared knowledge, insight, and strategy to promote financial inclusion and literacy. As we conclude, I urge you to use the insight garnered from the discussion to guide our future action. Let us continue to collaborate, innovate, and build upon today's knowledge to shape a financial landscape that empower individual, support economic development, and promote inclusion. May God Almighty bless and lighten our step toward a better future. Thank you. Om Santi 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 Om.
All right, thank you very much, Deputy Governor, for sharing your time with us today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed, I would like to also give a warm greetings to Mr. Abrao de Vasconcelos, Governor of Banco Central de Timor-Leste. Welcome, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests, we will move on to our first speaker of today. She is a senior policy analyst at OECD and will present the implementation guideline to strengthen the digital financial literacy in ASEAN. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Chiara Monticone.
Evening, everyone, Deputy Governor Hendarta, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today with you in this beautifully organized Digital Financial Inclusion Festival. It is a great pleasure to have the opportunity to present the implementation guidelines to strengthen digital financial literacy in ASEAN. But before jumping into the presentation, I would first of all like to take the opportunity to thank very warmly the Indonesia ASEAN chair, the WC Think chairs, and all the ASEAN members for the excellent collaboration that we have had with all of you this year, starting from the roundtable on financial consumer protection as part of the WC Think in February earlier this year, and also today's seminar on achieving quality financial inclusion and literacy in the digital era. As part of this collaboration, we've been extremely grateful to have the opportunity to develop these implementation guidelines to strengthen digital financial literacy in ASEAN that I will present shortly. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all the ASEAN member states that have very fruitfully participated in other various OECD projects on related topics, including participating in the OECD INFE Financial Literacy Survey of adults, in the pilot study to develop a questionnaire to measure digital financial literacy. I also wanted to acknowledge the participation of Indonesia, Myanmar, Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore in the very important data collection exercise on financial consumer protection for the Consumer Risk Monitor publication that will be released later this year. And also thank warmly Indonesia and Singapore and all the member states who participated in the production, the development of the report on financial consumers and sustainable finance that was published a few weeks ago. So based on this very fruitful collaboration, we really look forward to continuing working with all of you in the coming years. Let me now go straight into the presentation. I have a few slides, so I would be grateful. Okay, perfect. Could we go to the next slide, please? Okay, thank you very much. So the background for the development of the implementation guidelines has already been very skillfully and deeply summarized by Deputy Governor Handarta. And so this is really based on the recognition that there has been an important rise in financial inclusion and in the use of digital financial services in the region, but that this was accompanied by a rather limited financial and digital literacy in ASEAN member states, and that this was also going along with new challenges related to digital financial services, such as greater exposure to fraud and scams, such as identity theft, data theft, and in particular, new forms of online frauds and scams, especially for users who lack financial and digital literacy. So on the basis of these factors, the Indonesia ASEAN Chair 2023 recognized the importance of addressing the emerging challenges related to such a greater use of digital financial services and of really harnessing the potential of digital financial literacy. And therefore, they invited the OECD to prepare these implementation guidelines. So in the next slide, you can see, next slide, please. You can see the main objectives of these guidelines. Again, they were recalled by Deputy Governor just before me. So the idea is really to promote digital financial inclusion and literacy in the region by building on the relevant aspects of international best practices, but of course, taking into account the readiness of ASEAN member states to implement these guidelines, with the ultimate goal of supporting an increase in digital financial inclusion by strengthening digital financial literacy in the region within the context of supporting broader economic inclusion. Next, please. So these guidelines have been developed taking into account a number of important policy documents that existed already. So first of all, the guidelines have been developed in the context of the Global Financial Inclusion Agenda, thinking in particular of a number of documents that have been developed last year in the framework of the GPFI and the G20 under Indonesia G20 presidency in 2022. And this includes in particular the G20 2022 Financial Inclusion Framework, the Jakarta Financial Inclusion Framework, and the G20 Implementation Guide for the high-level principles on digital financial inclusion that were developed by the GPFI, and in particular Chapter 6 that supports the implementation of high-level Principle 6 on strengthening digital and financial literacy and awareness. Of course, the guidelines that I'm presenting today, they aim at complementing and updating a series of existing ASEAN guidelines, and in particular, the 2018 ASEAN Guidance Note on Financial Education and Financial Consumer Protection, and the 2021 Policy Note on Digital Financial Literacy developed by AFI. And of course, we also took into consideration a broader series of documents and high-level principles related to financial literacy and financial consumer protection developed by the OECD, the INFE, and the G20 in recent years. Next slide, please. Thanks. So the implementation guidelines have been developed by the OECD, building on a stock-taking exercise conducted between April and June this year that was aimed at gathering information on digital financial literacy policies and programs and understanding the policy challenges and any lessons learned from ASEAN member states. 9 ASEAN member states provided information through this stock-taking survey, which was also complemented, of course, by desk research and some bilateral exchanges with many of you to deepen information. A first version of the implementation guidelines was presented at the 16th meeting of the WC Think in July. And this final version, of course, takes into account the comments that we received during and after this meeting. Next, please. So here you can see the structure of the document. Chapter 1 starts with an introduction on the background, the data, the evidence that we have on digital financial literacy and inclusion in ASEAN, and also providing a rationale for the document. Chapter 2 provides an overview on policies and programs promoting digital financial literacy in the region, building on the stock-taking exercise that I just described. Chapter 3 discusses the main gaps that we identified in strengthening digital financial literacy in ASEAN member states. And Chapter 4 really contains the actual action-oriented guidelines for policymakers and other stakeholders to strengthen digital financial literacy in ASEAN member states. So with this, with the next slide, I will really go into the content of the document, starting from Chapter 2, which starts by describing the motivations to strengthen digital financial literacy in ASEAN member states, which is mainly based on supporting digital financial inclusion, of course, but also empowering consumers to navigate the evolving digital financial services landscape, and using digital financial services in a safe and responsible way. And several ASEAN member states also highlighted the importance of addressing the needs of different target groups and groups in the population in reaching this goal of higher digital financial inclusion and literacy. Next, please. Another important element that is discussed in Chapter 2 is whether and the extent to which there is already evidence on digital financial literacy. In ASEAN member states, we saw that several countries are already using national or international surveys using the OECD INFA methodology to collect data on digital financial literacy. And that some other countries are doing this through national surveys with more nationally tailored methodologies. So this is already a very important element showing that there is already some type of evidence on digital financial literacy in the region. And another element on which we devoted some attention was the existence of strategic approaches to developing digital financial literacy in ASEAN member states. And we observed that most ASEAN member states have recognized indeed the importance of digital financial literacy, and therefore they have integrated at least some elements of digital financial literacy into their national strategies or nationally specific coordinated approaches. So in particular, in Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, elements of digital financial literacy are already part of national strategies for financial literacy or financial inclusion or some other national frameworks. Next, please. But then we also wanted to look really at implementation and the existence of programs promoting digital financial literacy. And we observed that indeed a number of initiatives already exist. These are mostly targeting the general public or children and young people in various ASEAN member states that you can see in the slide. And we also saw that there are some programs targeting micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises or other potentially vulnerable groups, such as low-income people, seniors, migrants, gig workers, and so on. And we also devoted some attention to other elements supporting effective implementation of digital financial literacy programs, such as the existence of financial literacy competence frameworks, including elements on digital financial literacy. So this is already the case in Malaysia and the Philippines, and such a framework is being developed also in Thailand. And we noted a few examples of monitoring and evaluation of digital financial literacy programs, especially in Indonesia and the Philippines. Next, please. In chapter 3, as I anticipated, we discuss a series of gaps in strengthening digital financial literacy in ASEAN. First of all, we recognize that even though there are already some efforts in collecting data and evidence on digital financial literacy, this evidence remains somehow limited. I have to say that this is quite in line with what happens in other regions of the world. I would say this is quite normal. But we didn't really see much evidence of surveys providing really an extensive and deep overview of digital financial literacy in ASEAN member states. And it was also interesting to note that there is no coordinated data collection in a comparative way in the ASEAN region. In terms of policies and strategic approaches, again, as I just mentioned, at least to some extent, most ASEAN member states have already integrated some elements of digital financial literacy within their strategic national frameworks. But this, of course, could be further deepened or further integrated into national coordinated approaches. And there are still a few, even though just a few ASEAN member states who lack a strategic approach in the area of digital financial literacy altogether. And we also noted that we didn't really see examples of guidelines or criteria for the involvement of private and not-for-profit stakeholders in programs on digital financial literacy. And this is a point on which I will come back later on. And in terms of implementation and evaluation, we also noted some limitations and some areas that could be further developed or strengthened, such as there is a limited availability of competence frameworks on digital financial literacy and competence frameworks. We also recognize that most ASEAN member states develop programs for the general public, children or young people, but that only a few of them really target other vulnerable groups. And this leads to another point, that is the fact that digital financial literacy programs could indeed have greater scale and greater reach and could be further evaluated. We saw really very few examples of monitoring and evaluation. Okay, so in the next slide, I would then like to give you an overview really of chapter 4, which contains the proper implementation guidelines. So in terms of collecting evidence and developing a diagnosis, as I mentioned, of course, there is already very important evidence available in some ASEAN member states, but it is really important that in the future, ASEAN member states continue and deepen their efforts in data collection regarding digital financial literacy. And it's important to remember that this should cover a broad range of issues related to digital financial literacy, which include, of course, access to the internet and digital technology, digital literacy, and really the ability and the skills that people have in using digital technologies and financial services, whether people have access and if they use digital financial services themselves, if they face any challenges, or if they are exposed to any types of fraud and scams in this domain. And then elements which are the real digital financial literacy, that is knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors, supporting a safe and responsible use of digital financial services. And it's also important to note that quantitative data from surveys can be very usefully complemented by qualitative information coming from focus groups or the analysis of complaints and so on, which can provide very deep and meaningful information to really understand the type of challenges that people may face in using digital financial services. Such data collections should ideally be conducted on a regular basis to keep track of progress over time, and they should cover relevant subgroups at national level, which, depending on national circumstances, may include, for instance, also MSMEs or other groups for which it's particularly important to know their use of digital financial services and their digital financial literacy skills. There are a number of international exercises, such as those conducted by the OECD INFE related to digital financial literacy. So ASEAN member states are, of course, more than welcome to leverage these existing international efforts. And they may also consider conducting coordinated ASEAN surveys or other types of data collections to really learn from the regional aspect and from this regional collaboration. In the next slide, please, I would like to then talk about another point, which is one of the most important ones, that is developing coordinated and strategic approaches to strengthening digital financial literacy. As we have seen, most ASEAN member states already attach high importance to digital financial literacy, and this is to some extent already included into national frameworks, also as we heard from Deputy Governor just a few minutes ago. However, some ASEAN member states could do further efforts to deepen and further integrate these elements and really give them the priority that they deserve. This could be done, for instance, by developing dedicated digital financial literacy strategy that could complement and strengthen existing strategies on financial literacy overall or financial inclusion. And another important element is the need to strengthen the cooperation mechanisms with all relevant stakeholders. We know that digital financial inclusion is an area where a wide range of stakeholders have a role to play, not only the traditional financial sector, but also telecoms, new players, fintechs, and so on. So it's particularly important that all the relevant actors are taken into account, and that possibly policymakers develop guidelines or criteria for the involvement of these private sector actors in programs developing strengthening digital financial literacy in order to ensure that content is impartial and to manage any conflicts of interest. Next, please. And the final element included in Chapter 4 is related to supporting effective implementation of programs to enhance digital financial literacy. So really important elements that are highlighted in the implementation guidelines are the need to develop competence frameworks, which can be at national or even regional level, to define what are the main competencies that consumers and individuals should have in order to use digital financial services safely. And this can be integrated into any existing financial literacy competence framework that countries may already have. In developing such programs to strengthen digital financial literacy, it's particularly important to take into account the needs of key target audiences. We have seen that many ASEAN member states already target the general public and children or young people, but it's also important to devote efforts to MSMEs, older people, people living in rural or remote areas, any groups who may have low income and therefore limited opportunities for accessing digital financial services, but also women and any other groups who may be important at national level. Without forgetting, of course, that many of these groups may have difficulties in accessing or dealing with digital financial services, and therefore it's important to develop delivery channels that are appropriate and taking into account their needs and their limited digital and financial literacy. And this may include, for instance, developing tools actually not using digital channels or hybrid in the sense of mixing traditional and digital channels really as a way to take into account the fact that many people may not have access or may not have the skills to use digital technologies, digital tools to their best interest. And last but not least, a point that we like to make in many occasions is really the importance of encouraging the monitoring and evaluation of programs to enhance digital financial literacy. This can, of course, leverage on the analytical features offered by any digital tools for collecting data on users' experience and satisfaction and so on, and can be a way of further improving and strengthening these type of programs. So with this, this really brings me to the end of my presentation, but I would really like to reiterate the point that it was a pleasure to develop these implementation guidelines, and we really hope they will be useful for all countries in the region to strengthen their efforts to strengthen digital financial literacy. And of course, we remain available to continue working with you in the future. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very fruitful discussion in today's seminar. Thank you.
Well, thank you once again, Ms. Chiara, for sharing your insightful presentation, and hopefully you could stay with us today for the question and answer session. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow us to move on to the panel session, which will feature 4 central bank leaders in ASEAN as a panelist, and this panel session will be moderated by policy analysts of OECD. So without further ado, let us give a warm welcome to our moderator, Ms. Bianca Isaitu.
Hello, good morning, selamat pagi to everyone. It's very nice to see you again. And thank you so much for having us today. It's really a pleasure to be in Jakarta. Thank you very much to our Indonesian colleagues for hosting us. It's been really a great pleasure and honor actually to work alongside you. I am really pleased to moderate this session this morning, and before starting I would like to ask my panelists to join me on stage. So first I will start with Ms. Heng Momakara, First Deputy Director General of Banking Supervision at National Bank of Cambodia. So Mr. Heng Momakara oversees the performance of the banks and financial institutions at the National Bank of Cambodia, the development of regulatory frameworks, conduct macro surveillance, supervises credit bureau monitoring financial inclusion in Cambodia. He is also the team leader for the Financial Inclusion Working Group and the NBC, and of course member of other various working groups such as the National Committee for Consumer Protection. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Noor Rafiz, Director of Financial Inclusion Department from Bank Negara Malaysia. Mr. Rafiz has served in various capacities at the Bank Negara Malaysia in the Data Management and Statistics Department, and was previously the Director of Data Management and Statistics Department and Link and BNM Offices Department. He is also the co-chair of the Financial Education Network of the Malaysian Working Group. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Kamvilai Kadudom, Director of the Legal Division at Bank of Lao PTR. Welcome. So his department is in charge of non-bank financial institutions policies and regulations, and he was also the coordinator of the Bank of Lao PTR and UNCDF MAFID project, responsible for coordinating and monitoring progress of various DFS pilots and providing technical support to the Financial Inclusion Fund team. And last but not least, I would like my colleague Izan Amer, Associate with the Financial Development Division under Brunei Darussalam Central Bank, to join us on stage. The division he is working in is in charge of enhancing financial inclusion in the country, and it works closely with the Managing Director's Office of the BDCB, which also oversees the work on financial literacy. So I'll start the panel shortly with the colleagues here on stage. Thank you very much for your time and for joining us today. Before doing that, let me quickly go back to Chiara, because as you know, she's joining us from Paris, where it's quite early this morning, and I want to thank you, Chiara, again for joining us this morning, and double check if in the room there was any questions or clarifications for Chiara. You can ask her now. I think everyone is still a little bit shy. I don't see any hands raised, but Chiara will try to stay with us for a little while. So if there's questions later on, you can also keep your. Oh, sorry, there's a question in the room. Sorry about that, Chiara. There's a question for you. There's a question in the front.
Thank you, Bianca. My name is Elcia from Bank Indonesia. Thank you, Chiara, for a very comprehensive presentation on the guidelines. I have a question about you said in chapter 4, question about the importance of having develop a competence framework for a national and also for the regional one. And may I ask about these practices? If you have an example, for example, in the EU area, have you been doing this, the competency framework in the regional ones, and what are the challenges and what we need to be preparing, and in the discussion level between countries, what will be the things that we need to take into account and to be prepared about? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I think it's indeed a very good point. So competence frameworks on financial literacy or digital financial literacy can be a very useful tool for you, for policymakers, and for all stakeholders in a country or even at Asean level to really discuss what are the most important things that individuals and consumers should know and be able to do in the area of financial literacy more broadly, or digital financial literacy. So in a sense, it's a way for you to discuss among stakeholders or policymakers what you think is the things that people need to know. And then once you have a discussion and an agreement on this can feed into any sort of programs by any type of stakeholders and can guide the development of initiatives, of various initiatives. And this also ensures a sort of consistency and coordination between programs. So you can really see it as a tool in order to have greater coordination and greater efficacy, in a sense, at national or regional level. Various countries, even in ASEAN, have already started developing this kind of frameworks. And this is an exercise that is done in many other areas of the world. So you mentioned the European Union, indeed. So for instance, the OECD and the European Commission in the beginning of 2022 developed a financial competence framework for adults, and we are about to release a new one for children and young people in October this year, so very shortly. So both of these frameworks cover all elements of financial literacy that were considered to be relevant by member states, by EU member states, for adults or for young people to know in terms of financial literacy. But very importantly, they include and they highlight and they have a specific focus on the digital element, which is both competencies related to using digital financial services or using digital tools that can be relevant for personal finance, such as budgeting apps or any type of digital tool. So the challenges, you're asking about the challenges in developing these frameworks. The challenge is really to develop something that is synthetic, but at the same time comprehensive, that covers all the elements that are considered to be important. but at the same time remains usable, that is not too long or too complex to use. And another challenge can be to make it user-friendly, to devise ways to break it down, I don't know, for instance, in terms of knowledge, behaviors, or attitudes, highlighting the different elements, or for instance, highlighting different target groups that can be relevant for different competencies, or in the case of the one for children and young people, we had to break it down by age, for instance, because of course the type of competencies that are relevant at different ages can evolve, between, for instance, the age of 6 or the age of 18 cannot be the same competencies. So indeed, there are already lots of examples, both in ASEAN member states and in other regions, that you can leverage on to develop something that can be tailored and useful for your country or for ASEAN in general.
Thank you, Chiara, for your answers. Thank you very much also for the question. And Chiara will stay online, so if you have more questions, you can ask her later on. I would like now to move to our panel. We will discuss today, it was mentioned, we are here to share experience and knowledge from the ASEAN region on good practices on implementation of digital financial literacy and digital financial inclusion initiatives. And we've heard yesterday also during the panel discussion, and if you remember the inspirational speech that was given by the Deputy Commissioner of the Oecd, she really talked about the digital financial literacy as a catalyst that can empower consumers to achieve financial well-being. And of course, from the discussions yesterday, we really heard that this is a priority for most of the ASEAN member states. We also saw this on the slides presented by Chiara in an implementation guidelines. And many of the countries have taken strategic approaches to improve digital financial literacy, digital financial inclusion, and of course, the well-being of their citizens by integrating these topics into national frameworks. So, of course, there are still challenges that remain to be solved. There are still some gaps that we heard about, and we really hope that the implementation guidelines, which we worked on together, will be helpful to you as you move forward in this journey. And I'm really excited to have you today here. We have about an hour to hear your success stories, to hear your experiences, maybe also some of the challenges that you have had in actually implementing digital financial literacy programs, financial inclusion programs. So I would like to basically invite each one of you, one by one, actually, to make a short presentation with the examples from your jurisdictions, from your country, on the current situation with regards to digital financial literacy, financial inclusion, and also share with us some of your examples of programs, initiatives, of maybe policies that you've implemented, and of course, how you've coordinated this at national level. And I will leave some time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation, so please keep your questions ready for after the presentations are finished. So without further ado, let me start by giving the floor to Mr. Heng Bomakara from National Bank of Cambodia.
A very good morning, and thank Bianca for introducing me. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Bank Indonesia for allowing me to participate in this important event, Digital Financial Inclusion. We focus on digital literacy. May I move to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. So there are 4 areas that I'm gonna talk today is regarding to the overview of financial inclusion in Cambodia, the pathway of financial literacy, and the market conduct, and the conclusion that what we should do in promoting digital financial literacy and also digital financial inclusion. Next slide, please. If we go back to the last 8 years, I remember when the WCFIN has been established in 2015, we are talking about the importance of financial inclusion. But until today, I think maybe we don't talk anymore because we all understanding how important of financial inclusion. But now it's time to talk about financial literacy. So when we promote financial inclusion, it is important to ensure that inclusion it's bring sustainable growth. So to maintain this growth, financial literacy is very important on this. So by the time that we develop the financial inclusion, the rate of the Cambodian population, the access to formal financial services is only 59% by the time, the FinScope surveys. And then we do the survey again in 2021 during the pandemic, supporting by the UNCDF. We do another FinScope survey, so we can see that the rate of access to formal financial services has been improved from 59 to 67 by 2021. Even though it has been improved but we can see that there are more that we need to do to reach the goal, which is 70% by 2025. In this regard, promoting digital financial inclusion also another way to support financial access in Cambodia to achieve the goal of 7% by 2025. I also can see that by Indonesia now is already beyond 70%, and the goal is 90% by the next years. Congratulations for this. So next slide please. So then when we promote financial inclusion, what have been done in promoting financial literacies? The first thing that we have been done, one of the things that have been done to promote financial literacies is to communicate with Ministry of Education. We cooperate with Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport to insert financial literacy in the curriculum from grade 1 to grade 12. In the curriculum, the communication is to develop a framework as well as the content in the chapters that should be covered from grade 1 to grade 12. Currently, we have achieved grade 4 and grade 7 by issuing the book for teachers and the book for students of the 2 grades, 4 and 7. With the objective of the national financial inclusion in promoting women access to finance, as women play an important role in the economy, we also work with Ministry of Women Affairs in promoting financial education to women entrepreneurs, to women in general, and also to female students through the conducting of seminar, workshop, training, and public communication. During the pandemic, we also conducted it online to sharing all of this seminar and communication through online to improve their knowledge about the importance of using financial services. We also cooperate with UNESCAP in promoting the education of women entrepreneurs, so then they know how to manage their fund, know how to generate bank statement report, which is important for them to access to financial services, especially to loan to finance their business processes. We also cooperate with Good Return to work on a project called Let's Talk Money. So we cooperate with Good Return in 2016 by the time to develop a Let's Talk Money, and then we have a 6 video. This video is to promote people to understanding about the importance of usage of financial literacies. We also develop a comic book for students. So students doesn't like to read much letter, but they like to read more like comic books. So we develop comic book and also other material relating to financial literacies. By now, we have finished the stage 1 with Good Return, and we continue the stage 2, which we call little Let's Talk Money little by little. And if this one is to promote how to improve your saving and manage your fund for your family's futures. We also have shown this video outside the hall in the Asean booth. If you have time, please come and look the video that you can see in real. We also work with CMA, Microfinance Association, to promote literacies to people in the rural areas, especially people who use the who access to a small loan in the rural areas, and they don't have much literacy on how to use this, and also they don't know about their right, how to use, how they can bargaining their power with that. So we work with CMA to promote literacy to these people. And we also work with the AFI, Alliance for Financial Inclusion, to develop our roadmap for financial literacies. The roadmap is covered in 4 areas, mainly for women, for adults, for young people, and also for the institution, to ensure that they understand about the usage of digital financial services. Besides that, we also coordinate with UNCDF and also ABC and CMA. UNCDF, we coordinate in reviewing the progress of financial inclusion in Cambodia, how it has been achieved from the last FinScope, following by the last FinScope in 2016, following by the previous FinScope in 2021, and also we plan to conduct another FinScope in 2024, if in May. We also coordinate with Bank Association and also Microfinance Association by sharing what we have, material that we have, to the association. So association can use the material that the NBC have to advertise more to the public. And normally they use the content that we have to advertise on a broadcast with the television. Every first Monday of the month, we have a discussion on that, on the TV show, about each topic of financial literacies. Next slide, please. Along with that, we see that it is important to ensure the consumer protection is there. I have seen the slide presented by Her Excellency Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia about importance of consumer protection in this. So we issue a regulation on promoting consumer protection in Cambodia, with requiring all institutions to have complaint unit to solve the complaint from their customers. But in ourselves, we also establish our communication unit or complaint unit to solve all the complaint from customers when they use the financial service, which is under the supervision of the National Bank of Cambodia. Next slide, please. So this is what the way forward. As mentioned earlier, the cooperation between stakeholders is really important. National Bank alone cannot achieve the goal. I think we need coordination with all the stakeholders, including the bank and financial services. So they need to have to insert the financial literacies in their strategies to ensure that they also have, when they provide services to customers, they're explaining about the benefit and the risk of using their services. We also need to enhance the customer when they knowledge when they use the financial services, what are the risks and the benefit, and what they should care about the service that they have been access to. And cooperation not with stakeholders, not just within bank and consumer, but also related stakeholders within the countries, also within the region. So the ASEAN Working Group on Financial Inclusion is another platform that we can exchange the knowledge among ASEAN member states and also across the border, example with OECD, with AFI, and the World Bank, and so on. In addition to that, I would like to mention that when we access to digital financial service, there's a lot of challenge that we might face, especially when the people have little knowledge about digital services. When the digital financial literacies have not been well distributed, not been well shared to the people. There's a lot of cases that been happened during the customer complaint. Example, there's frauding with their account. They use mobile app, but they transfer to different account. In some cases, some even they show their account numbers, particularly on their Facebook, without knowing or what the risk when they're showing account on their Facebook. So these are other risks. And they also have a time that the bank system has been down and they cannot do any settlement or transferring. I also would like to highlight that during this couple of years, the digital financial service has been well adopted in Cambodia. People has been changed their perception, their behaviors in carrying money in everywhere, but now they're carrying only their phone. I usually I personally usually had to make sure that when I go out, I bring my wallet. But now it changed. I have to show that I bring my phone because everything can be settled by phone. We can do settlement through phone with merchandise. I think all the merchandise, more than 90% of the merchants in the capital cities can access by QR code. We also use QR code to do business-to-business settlement. And now we also do cross-border settlement between Cambodia and Thailand. And last week, we have do a cross-border settlement between Cambodia and Laos through a QR code. This is how we improve the digital financial services within Cambodia. But it is important that the cooperation and the enhancing of digital financial literacies had to be along at the same time that we promote digital financial services. Thank you. I would like to look forward for the question if you have any more to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have to say that it's quite impressive to hear these stories, right? At least 3 things that I took away as a wow, for me. First of all, your cooperation with the Ministry of Education. This is basically a challenge in a lot of countries, and you've managed to engage with them and discuss about implementing financial education in the curriculum, so well done on that. Then I think reaching rural areas is also something that is very difficult, and we were having sideline discussions about that, and maybe in the Q&A session we can chat a little bit more about it, on how you've done it. And what you just mentioned in the end is also impressive, no? That you really managed to have a leap forward with the digital inclusion of people, and everybody's just paying with payments, even cross-border settlements digitally. That sounds really impressive, so congratulations. Thank you for sharing this. So now I would like to move to our next speaker. In the meantime, you can keep your questions for Mr. Bomakara for at the end of the presentations, and I would like to give the floor to our colleague from Bank Negara Malaysia.
All right. Thank you, Bianca. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thanks and congrats Bank Indonesia, Ibu Sari, for an excellent job in organizing this event today. I was really impressed by the organizations, and especially when yesterday Tommy said that none of this is here last Thursday. So when we came yesterday, everything is here. So I'm really impressed with that. Congrats, VI. Okay, I'm here today because I want to share our experience in Malaysia on our digital financial inclusion and our digital financial literacy in Malaysia so far, and what we have planned next. All right, on our DFI, we are very committed to prioritize digitalization as part of an important catalyst for enhancing financial inclusion. This is in line with our financial sector blueprint, where one of the 3 desired outcomes is to achieve finance for all. And under this includes ensuring diverse choices of consumers, for consumers, including digital-first solution. So we are looking into digital very seriously. Policy to digitalize the financial sector, along with robust measures and financial consumer protection and continuous financial literacy initiatives, have played a significant role in driving digital financial inclusion in Malaysia. So for the past few years, we have seen several policy measures being implemented to support the advancement of digital financial inclusion. For example, we have issued a licensing framework for digital banks, and we have announced 5 successful applications for our digital banks who are currently in the process of gearing up to commence operations soon. I will highlight some of other important measures later in these presentations. Okay. We have observed that adoption of digital financial services, DFS, have sped up alongside with the growth in financial inclusion. I think this is similar with other countries. I think everyone is seeing their digital financial services adoption has been increasing very rapidly, especially due to the pandemic, where most of us are not allowed to go out, and so most of the thing has to be done online digitally. And some statistics on the FS in Malaysia, based on our supply side data, e-payment transaction per capita was at 291 transactions per person in 2022 compared to just 49 in 2011. And we target these numbers to be at 400 by 2026. And global Findex, I think has been showed earlier in the presentation by the DG of BI, shows that 79% of adults in Malaysia have used DFS. And of this 79%, actually 42% did it only the first time during the pandemic. So like I said, the pandemic has actually helped us to accelerate the adoption of digital financial services. So as for our our financial inclusion level, we have also significantly progressed over the last 10 years, where now 96% of our adults have active deposit account, and almost 100% of the population live in areas where they have access to physical financial access points. However, in the current landscape, with the more adoption of digital financial services, digital financial inclusion might hold greater significance than ever before. Next slide, please. All right. We have continued to implement innovative ways to address financial inclusion barriers. For example, we introduce and also enhance our mobile banks initiatives and our agent banks. And this is not just about the traditional financial services. These two initiatives also played significant role in widening access to basic banking services, as well as contribute to catalyze the adoption of DFS by providing consumers with advisory services regarding to digital financial services. So when the public goes to these mobile banks, to this agent bank, the mobile banks and agent banks officers will also be providing advices and promoting the safe usage of DFS, for example, explaining the do and don'ts when conducting digital banking transactions and creating awareness on current issues such as financial scams. I think financial scam is something that is not just rampant in my country, I believe it's throughout the world. More recently, we also launched a nationwide campaign on e-payment, which we call e-Duit. Duit simply means money. Therefore, e-Duit basically means e-money or e-payments. Under this e-Duit initiative, we collaborate with industries to conduct outreach program to encourage greater use of e-payment, as well as educate the public on how to use this e-payment safely. Our target is to sustain the growth of e-payment and to achieve a target of more than 15% annual growth of e-payment transactions over the next 5 years. A more vibrant digital financial services, or DFS, will further maximize the efficiency gain and enhance consumer experience, leading to a better and elevated digital financial inclusion. Recognizing this, we look forward to the commencement of operation of digital banks in Malaysia. As I mentioned just now, we have already provided license or granted license to 5 successful digital banking applications, and they are currently in operational stage, in operational readiness stage. I think one will start their operation soon. And as for digital insurance and takaful operators, we may also soon issue issued a license to them, but currently we are still looking at the framework, and that licensing framework will be issued soon before the potential digital takaful and operators, digital insurance and takaful operators can apply for license. So what we hope is that similar to digital banks, DITOs or digital insurance takaful operators will also be able to serve the unserved and underserved market by providing their products wholly or at least mostly through digital or electronic platforms. We are also working very closely with industries to introduce reforms to the insurance and takaful sector to promote a more positive consumer experience. For example, there will be an end-to-end digital motor insurance and takaful claims settlement via the system online, fully online, by end 2026. And the first phase of this is we are doing a digital roadside assistance by end of this year, meaning you can use your app or you can go to website if you have trouble with your car along the roadside, and you can just ask for the tow truck to come to your location and tow your car. Next. No doubt that the FAS has opened new pathways for economic opportunities by providing greater access to financial services. As we embrace this exciting development, it is important that we recognize the role of digital financial literacy to ensure a meaningful and responsible usage of the FS by our consumers. So in order to understand this, we have conducted a demand-side survey in 2021. And unfortunately, the outcome is not that encouraging. While it shows that the FS has become a norm among Malaysian and its usage continue to grow, services like mobile banking, internet banking, payment cards, and payment system have recorded significant growth over the years. The issue is with digital financial literacy. It is still very low. I think in a few slides I will explain about that. All right. Okay, next slide. And to support our evidence-based policy making, we have had to measure the digital financial literacy level of Malaysian. We have incorporated the DFL in our financial capability and inclusion survey in 2021. And this is based on OECD INFE toolkit that was published earlier. And as I said, the result is quite worrying. For example, 37% of Malaysians share their password or PIN number for their bank accounts with their close friends and relatives. This question is strictly on close friends and relatives. So if we include spouses, I would imagine the numbers will even be higher. So this is a concern, especially with financial scam and cyber crimes continue to be on the rise. Therefore, it is more important than ever that we enhance the digital financial literacy for our public. Next slide. Improving the financial literacy level across all segments of society requires a systematic, sustained, and coordinated approach that focuses on long-term behavioral change, because just doing awareness so that people understand what is digital financial literacy is not enough if we can't change their behavior. I am sure that 37% that we surveyed that say they share their PIN and password with their close friends knows that this is not something they should be doing, but they still do it anyway. So behavioral change is the one that we want to achieve here. So the next part of the presentation will cover how we implement a coordinated whole-of-nation approach to financial education initiatives. Bank Negara Malaysia has spearheaded the formation of Financial Education Network, or FEN, in 2016. This network is co-chaired by Bank Negara Malaysia, the central bank, as well as our securities commissions. It comprises 8 member institutions with the objective to raise the level of financial literacy among Malaysians and improve financial well-being of Malaysians. FAN leverages of its members' expertise and resources to collectively drive efforts to promote effective delivery of financial education initiative. As you all know, financial education needs to start young, from when people are still young. So that's why the two of our FAN members is actually our Ministry of Education and our Ministry of Higher Education. So that the financial literacy can be in the school curriculum from the primary school, secondary school, and even tertiary education. Since the inception, apart from these 8 members, we have also onboarded more than 20 partners as key players in rolling out financial literacy programs. And we continue to invite external stakeholders and support from other agencies as well as even private companies. For example, we have also onboarded our Takaful Operators Association, Malaysian Takaful Operators Association, as our FAN partners, because they also provide a lot of financial literacy initiatives regarding protections. Okay. Under FAN, we have a programmatic roadmap that develop and monitor and track the implementation of our NS, or our national strategy. It provides a structured framework to create a more accessible, inclusive, and effective financial literacy ecosystem for Malaysians. As per item 2.3, I'm not sure whether you can see because it's quite small. The programmatic roadmap, FAN continues to focus on elevating digital financial literacy, especially amongst the low-income group and also our small and medium enterprises. This is to ensure that consumers are equipped with the right knowledge to use DFS effectively, responsibly, and confidently. Our effort to equip consumers with improved digital financial literacy are implemented through collaboration with all relevant stakeholders. All right. BNM and other FAN members have been actively supporting the Ministry of Education via collaboration and partnership in area of digital financial literacy. Recognizing the importance of to instill the FL from young age, financial education elements such as including the DFL have been incorporated in our school curriculum from preschool to secondary school and like I said to tertiary education center as well. This is to ensure that children have the foundational skill that will enable them to make informed financial decisions in this digital era. Cashless school program was also launched to bring on board more young adults into formal financial systems and promote the adoption of DFS in targeted manner. These initiatives is implemented with collaboration with various financial service providers to ensure that schools and higher education centers are equipped with the digital infrastructure to enable students to perform cashless transactions. Capacity development are also provided to teachers to ensure usability and accessibility of teaching materials. This is provided through financial literacy webinar series and e-learning program and covers various areas of e-payments, financial fraud, and scams. Various financial education programs for youth has also been implemented by our FAN partners. One of them is My Duit Story, or MDS, which is a short video story competition held since 2020. So this aim at creating awareness among youth of the importance of financial literacy. The competition carried different themes each year. Another example is an initiative by our FAN co-chair, which is Security Commissions, called Abjad. This is a program to promote financially literate rural communities. Students and teachers from rural secondary schools are trained as agents of change to guide or encourage other family members and community members to enhance their knowledge on financial and digital literacy modules and through e-learning platform. FAN has also actively leveraged on digital platform to scale up interaction with public at large. In view of the rapidly evolving digital environment, FAN continues to provide an up-to-date financial education tools and resources through our FAN navigational website. It is a one-stop financial education platform providing a source of financial guides and tools which covers all life stages from student, youth, adults, and even retirees. It has more than 800 financial literacy tools and resources from FAN members and partners. And also recognizing the importance of social media in our current world today. We have also embraced this platform as a way to effectively engage and educate the public. So we have our FAN Facebook, FAN Instagram, and FAN TikTok as well. Financial Literacy Month is our month-long national campaign organized annually in October every year to raise awareness on key financial issues and elevate financial literacy among Malaysians. This provides a platform for FAN members and partners to engage Malaysians from all walks of life via various activities such as roadshows, webinars, international symposiums, and exhibitions. For example, last year we have our Financial Literacy Month with the theme Let's Go Digital Confidently. Overall, during the month, we have reached to 3.2 million public through our roadshows, exhibition, workshops, and webinar. We have also deployed our mobile coach, if you can see in the slides there, where it travels to 61 different locations in the country, and we have engaged directly more than 20,000 people. We have also conducted a short DFL survey during this roadshow, and the findings are in line with our FCI survey results. For example, many youth had no knowledge of MIU account and its consequences, and some of majority had poor cyber hygiene, where they are not aware of the security features of payment system platforms and still sharing their password with friends and family. And some of them are still preferring cash over e-payment as they perceive e-payment as being unsafe. So next, I will quickly highlight our future key initiatives to continue strengthen FI's roles to promote safe and responsible use of digital financial services. We ask the FIs to focus to provide just-in-time financial education. As consumers, I think all of us are the same. We typically do not actively go and seek financial education, right? So what we want the banks to do now is to work close. What we are working closely now with the industry is to provide practical knowledge to the consumer that they can apply immediately, thereby increasing the likelihood of them making better financial choices. For example, when they want to do a transaction online, maybe a message will pop up on some financial digital literacy, which is relevant to the transaction that they are about to make. We are also empowering agent banks as agents of change to promote digital financial literacy, particularly in the remote and rural areas. We are also promoting DFL via school adoption and cashless school programs, and amplify the importance of safe and responsible usage of digital payment during outreach programs and our educational campaigns. BNM and other FAN members will continue to scale up targeted effort, particularly to vulnerable groups. Next slide.
Sorry, can I
For-
ask you to wrap up?
Yeah, okay, this is the last slide. For youth segment, we are piloting a structured DFL module for them, incorporating topics of digital financial services, managing money online, as well as tips on cyber hygiene and awareness of meal accounts. We continue to conduct outreach programs across various key target segments, such as rural community, gig workers, urban poor, and person with disabilities. Before I end my presentation, I'd just like to share one short video about a success story of Redang Island. It's a small island on the east coast of Malaysia in becoming a cashless island. It is a very small island with around 2,000 population, and the main activity there is tourism. So this is a story that illustrates how real life circumstances motivated the locals in this Redang Island to embrace digital payments and have successfully transformed their livelihood. If we can show.
Di Pulau Redang ni semua boleh bayar online. Orang kata apa ni? Apa benda? Cashless.
Saya Zainab binti Muhammad. Lebih dikenali sebagai Cikgu Ha lah di Pulau Redang ni, panggilan mesra lah, semua orang kenal. Saya tinggal di Pulau Redang selama 42 tahun dah. Dilahirkan di sini, dibesarkan di sini, dan saya bekerja ni sebagai cikgu tadika pasti di Pulau Redang ni.
Saya Rusli bin Abdul Ghani, orang panggil Sa'ri. Saya anak tempatan Pulau Redang. Saya mengusahakan resort ni lebih kurang dalam 10 tahun dah.
Nama saya Nazura binti Mak Mano. Orang panggil saya Kak Zura je kat sini. Lepas tu saya menetap di Pulau Redang dan saya mempunyai kedai runcit yang comel saja kat sini.
Kebanyakan penduduk Pulau Redang dulu dia suka guna cash. Nak bayar bil kena naik ke tanah besar, nak keluar duit pun kena ke tanah besar.
Dulu sebelum ada kemudahan online, cukup susah saya nak dapatkan pelanggan ni. Kadang-kadang ada pelanggan yang telefon, ditanya ada apa ni kemudahan-kemudahan seperti Asean kredit card apa. Tapi kita tak ada masa itu.
Dulu kan kalau kita nak keluar duit, siapa nak keluar bandar, kita akan bagi kad ATM tu untuk kirim. Nak tak nak, walaupun kita rasa percaya ke tak percaya, terpaksa lalui juga. Tapi dengan harapan, harap-harap dia jujurlah ambil kad ni untuk cocok duit tu balik ke kita. Macam gitu. Tapi terpaksa.
Sepanjang akak meniaga kedai runcit ni, banyak-banyak juga masalah. Contohnya, duit koyak. Lepas tu kadang-kadang orang nak beli barang, tak cukup duit.
Jadi bila dah masuknya cashless yang diperkenalkan oleh bank negara, jadi memudahkanlah kata orang urusan niaga tu.
Macam saya ni, lebih mudahlah bila ada online banking. Kalau saya nak beli barang, saya transfer je lah duit kat dia. Lepas tu supplier akan hantar barang ke saya. Tak macam dulu, nak kena bagi cash dekat booth. Kan satu masalah.
Zaman sekarang, kemudahan online banyak dan banyak bermanfaat bagi saya untuk menarikkan pelanggan-pelanggan datang kat Redang di Rimbo Resort.
Bila dah ada sistem online, BRP, kita boleh bayar melalui online. Tak payah kata orang pergi ke bandar dah. Kelebihan cashless ni, bila dia orang travel, tak perlu bawa cash. Bila nak masuk ke kedai ataupun pergi ke resort, bila dia tengok QRP logo, jadi dia tahu, senang. Tak perlu kata orang bawa cash yang banyak untuk pergi melancur ke pulau. Duit dalam akaun tapi kita boleh berbelanja.
Selepas ni, kalau nak datang Pulau Redang, tak perlu buat cash banyak. Sebab kedai-kedai kat sini semua menggunakan online banking.
Sebenarnya kaedah online ni dia jadi jimat masa. Pelanggan dah bayar siap-siap, dia mari je.
Sangat berterima kasihlah kepada pihak agensi yang terlibat datang ke pulau. Banyak kali juga dia buat program terutama dekat Balah Raya, memperkenalkan cara-cara untuk menggunakan cashless, menyedarkan penduduk kampung. Cash tu pegang duit tunai di tangan lah. Risiko sangat tinggi bila kita simpan duit cash di rumah.
Bila ada pihak beri kesedaran dan galakan menggunaan cashless dan online banking, kami penduduk kampung ni rasa amat bertuah sekali sebab kami ni macam setara dengan penduduk bandar, boleh menggunakan fasiliti yang ada ni. Dan kami mengucapkan terima kasih kepada pihak yang terlibat lah.
Kalau mari ke resort-resort Pulau Redang, jangan lupa ke kampung kita ni. Kampung kita ni cashless juga.
Dah. Pakat-pakat marilah belakang.
Datanglah ke Pulau Redang ramai-ramai sebab pulau kami pulau cashless.
Thank you and terima kasih.
Thank you so much. Thank you for, well, this inspirational video at the end. I think in addition to being impressed with your work, we also now all want to go and visit the Pulau Redang. Okay, thank you so much. I have to say that if I see Malaysia's story, what you share with us today, I have two words that come to my mind. One is ambitious and the other one is dynamic. It's really impressive how you've managed to achieve so much, and also how you took along with you the rest of the community and the stakeholders. So congratulations. I have a lot of questions to ask you and a lot of curiosities about different projects and programs that you mentioned, but I will let the audience afterwards maybe to ask you questions. And I am really curious to know, but we can discuss this later, what are you most proud of all of these projects that you have shared with us? So maybe we can chat about that in a little while. In the meantime, I would like to invite you to travel digitally, virtually with me today to Laos, and to do that, I would give the floor to our colleague from Bank of Laos PDR to share the Laos story.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here in this town. This is my first time also in Jakarta, Indonesia. Most of the time that I travel is going to Bali. Now this is my first time in Jakarta. Thank you for Bank of Indonesia for very excellent and impressive organization to have this roundtable on financial literacy. And also I would like to take this opportunity to share our experience and work for the financial literacy of the Laos PDR. Before we go to that, I have very impressive that working in the team of the financial inclusion. This is very, exciting and very, love to do it. So for this time is for the time constraint that we have some pressure to move on for my colleagues to still have time for the lunch. So my presentation content this time is maybe cover 9 points of the one. That's the first one. We are going to talk about the breakout of that financial inclusion of Laos PDR. Next slide, please. For the financial inclusion for the Laos PDR has been developed together with our partner, which is the UNCDF in 2014. It was the first time that I joined the BOL at that time. So this is very exciting to be in the team of that financial inclusion to draft of the roadmap of the Laos financial inclusion at that time. So together with that, working on the financial inclusion at that time, we have 2 projects implementing at that time. One's calling the MAFRI project, which under the funded or cooperation with the UNCDF. And the second project, which is the MRAFP, which is under our cooperation with the GIZ AFP at that time. So the Bank of the Laos PDR has full functional and play very role effort to achieve our daily activity to reach and to access to help the people in the area to access to finance for the poor in the rural area. So for our achievement, this is very long journey that we have been working together with 2 projects since 2018. That project would end in that time. So we achieved a lot of many activity and achievement. For example, I give you very relative to the financial literacy, the project of the MRAFP, which is train the people in rural area, more than 20,000 people in the one. There's more than that. So working in that time in the MAFRI project, in the same time we have several activity. One of them is talking about digital financial services in the time. So we have the FIF project, which is funding to the microfinance to give a loan to the rural area at the time. The biggest program is how to draft and how to implementing about a roadmap of the financial inclusion in Laos PDR. I remember the time that maybe Laos is the third country in the fight upon that Asian country, which is Myanmar and Thailand that time. And that the third is Laos to developing of the financial inclusion at time. Maybe our country like Cambodia is not yet that renting in that time that I remember that one. So we successfully adopt that our financial inclusion roadmap of the year 2008, which is the 6-7 years of the periods of the time. And the financial literacy is the one of the priority. It's under the consumer protection activity. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is our 5 priority of the financial inclusion roadmap of the Lao PDR, which is first of all that we can see that how to improve that credit facility for all of the client in our general whole country, which is we have that kind of credit information, credit product, and reform of the subsidy credit in particular. So most of them goes to help the MSME to access to finance at the time in the purpose of that. The second priority that we have is talking about the consumer protection, which is I heard from Branchka yesterday about, I captured something about that, talking about access to finance well-being, is talking about financial inclusion, financial literacy, and also the consumer protection at that time. So to improve that one, we are have the team to developing about a degree on consumer protection, which is issued on 2020. This is I already have mentioned in the seminar on the consumer protection already in the visual. And we also issue the government of the level degree on financial, microfinance financial institution degree, which is cover all of that, how to give license to the microfinance institution, and also talking about the consumer protection and the other ratio of financial stability of the microfinance at that time. The second one that we are talking about the financial literacy activity that initiative that we are trying to move on implementing on the financial literacy in our priority and the other. So the other less of that priority, we are talking about the various fund, the payment ecosystem, and also the financial outreach. This is talking about that, how to explain that branches to the rural area much as possible that we can. Next slide, please. So we for the financial literacy initiative, we set some our objective that would be promoting that financial literacy aim to open opportunity for the people to build more knowledge, understanding, skill, confidence, and motivated in management the personal finance. This is our objective, which is we have explained to our vision that all the Lao people plan and use their money and financial services properly, which lead to the improvement of their living condition. This will contribute to the socio-economic development in our countries. That mission that we have is to providing the Lao people with access to learning opportunity on personal financial management. This is our two big mission to go beyond. So who's going to benefit from that financial literacy? The promoting for the financial literacy has been selected, as I mentioned before, in the priority of our roadmap. And one who going to benefit all the financial service provider and who people in our rural area in particular, to reduce the level of unmanageable debt, which is quite concern for our government. The second one maybe for the poverty level that this is our SDG to be completed. The last one maybe going to be improve our inclusive growth for the end. So for develop that our financial literacy in different level that we have national and local authority level, which is we are trying to coordinate with the Ministry of Education and Sport to facilitate the movement of the financial literacy. This is basically to be very important that we have to have that many activity for the work. For example, in Laos and under our supervision and our support from the Bank of Laos, we have two associations such as the Microfinance Association and also the what we call cooperative as Saving and Credit Union Cooperative Association in Laos. These two associations is kind of middle level of that financial inclusion promoting that help a lot of the Bank of Laos to implementing and dissemination our regulation and promoting our financial literacy. The other ministry is one of that our partnership to be responsible for the promoting and facilitating our key to improve our financial literacy as a whole country. Moreover, that we have that cooperative with national and local authority. This is very important to working together with the local authority to improving the financial literacy, financial education, because most of the Lao population are, it's not in the urban country city. There's saying that the density of the people living is so spreadly around the country. This is very one of the challenges to be covered by promoting our financial literacy. So for the financial service provider that we have right now, we have bank, we have microfinance, and we are the non-bank financial institution to be helping us to go beyond that one. But we are focusing on that two associations. Based on that we can cooperate with other international organizations to promote that lesson learned or what we training for the and course training for all of the financial institution and bank together with them to promote that kind of financial literacy in our project. Next slide, please. For that, maybe I just also mentioned already about the coordination among the central government and also with the non-bank financial institution or non-bank organization is very important for the Lao PDR, because we are in the beginning of that promoting and developing our attitude or material to promoting our financial inclusion at that time. So for deepening understanding and promoting our financial literacy, we have to coordinate with all of the stakeholders together with one. So we are setting our priority group for our target. Why is so? Because of that, based on our financial inclusion and action plan that we have right now, the use of the financial services, the household in rural area, school children, students, and youth, and independent, also the women are all target to be our priority. Why? The use of finances, there are a lot of use of finances in our own country. The financial literacy in this area is still low compared to other Asian member states. The mechanism to protecting and consumer financial literacy in financial sector has not been developed very quality yet. So why we focusing on the household in the rural area? As I mentioned earlier, the identity of the people in household in Laos is so separately. So we need the improvement or licensing to cover over 60% of the population as a target. So, and also in the financial education improvement in the school and the other very important, as mentioned with Bianca in the earlier time, we have that cooperate with Anfatun from Netherlands. This is where they have some document material who support us to give this material to the elementary school to go to beyond that. And the other activity that we have, we very luckily supported by the Australian government, that we have a minivan to go for the roadshow in the drying season for the dissemination to implementing our give them lesson learned on the financial literacy. And also we successfully developing a video. That video is the detail of the content of the video is talking about the financial literacy, how to save your money, how manage your money. This is available in the YouTube already. We can, at this time we all can come here with the brochure over here, but we don't bring our video. But you can also access to YouTube and find for our video. There are 4 videos in the YouTube. Next slide, please. As Asian member state that we are facing on the same challenges and opportunity when we are talking about digital financial literacy. Even though that the country of Laos PDR and what we say in digitalization level is quite coming up, but not much to rise compared to the Asian country. But first of all, to access to information may not cover all the people in rural area. I may give you an example. In people in rural area, they are not pretty much rely on the mobile phone or rely on to have to access by using your mobile phone to access to information. This is one thing. The second one too is access to training such as e-learning platform or online training material, etc. As I mentioned, we luckily have that material from the Anfatu that we can translate already in Lao. We can separate and dissemination in our own country. But for the e-platform, this is one of that material that we don't have yet in our own country. We just have the English one. And the other one, lack of capacity building and specialized technical staff to promote an innovation method for the financial literacy is our barrier or one thing of challenges of our bank also. So we can see if we are lack of financial literacy may lead us to, I think this is my personal idea and take it into this slide to share with you. Less likely to use formal information product, they are more likely to use financial service provided by money lender. This is one of my critical things. I mean that in the general picture of that one. The second one is may lack of opportunity to using modern service such as cashless transaction. For example, the mobile from our project happening from Mafib, you can transfer your money by using some app or using some the mobile phone by selecting some agent nearby in your house. They will send your money back to your rural area. But they don't know how to do this, so this is a practical thing to do. So this is one of that we are trying to do in promoting campaign for the financial literacy in next step forward. BOL will coordinate it with the public and private stakeholder to encourage to contribute of the information and financial literacy, providing financial information knowledge to the public. This is one that we have already setting up in our action plan and they'll be implementing. Because of the COVID-19 expand in the whole country, this kind of activity may stop for a while. But this year, next year coming, we have to do on. And through that media channels such as TV, radio, internet, and also I mentioned already about the YouTube, you can access from that one to promote our financial literacy. And one. For our goal, to ensure that the Lao PDR or the Lao people know and understand financial services properly and that they can manage their money efficiently. This is very important that the goal that people can do. Now, the indicator that we're setting up for the end of that 2025 is about the number of students to educative system, including formal and non-formal, that have been trained on the financial literacy. This is our indicator. The second indicator is the number of the people receiving training from the organization involved and exclude that participant of the formal education. That's the second one. The last but not least, but the number of organizations that include financial may be improved or is into the account or going to be the framework of that what plan to do in the near future. This is our primary campaign to promote the financial literacy in the Lao PDR. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing your story, actually. And I have to say, I really like the presentation actually emphasized the link between financial consumer protection, financial education, but other goals that you have, right? Like reducing poverty, inclusive growth. I think that's also important to mention, the fact that all of this is interlinked, right? And I also really appreciated the fact that you are trying to build these connections with the different stakeholders and actually even provide recommendations to the financial services providers on how to do financial education, because that's also important, right, to keep in mind that we need to provide guidance to those that are delivering financial education. Thank you. So again, questions at the end, please bear with me. And be patient to ask your questions. We have one last speaker, but definitely not the least, who is going to share with us the journey from Brunei.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, sorry. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to everyone. Thank you, Bianca. My name is Muhammad Izan from the Brunei Darussalam Central Bank, and today before I start my presentation, I'd like to thank Bank Indonesia and the relevant teams for organizing such an amazing Asean Fest for the 2023. Okay, the next slide is just the standard disclaimers. So if you move on to the next slide, yeah. So to start the presentation, let's delve into the state of Brunei Darussalam. For the population, Brunei Darussalam is home to a population of approximately 445,000 people. The residents are spread across the 4 districts, with majority concentrated in the Brunei Muara with 72.4% of the total population. In terms of gender distribution, there's a relatively balanced representation. Approximately 52.8% of the population, or around 235,000, are males, while the remaining 47.2%, or 210,000, are females. For financial inclusion, at the highest level, when we look at adults aged 15 and above who have accounts with formal financial institutions, we find a figure of 92.2%, which indicates a high level of financial inclusion within the adult population. Breaking it down into the separate financial sectors, we can see that bank ownership stands at 74.4% and highlights the significance of having a bank account, especially in this digital age. Credit account ownership represents 32.3%, and takaful and insurance together account for 23.8% of total population. In the middle column, for digitalization in Brunei Darussalam, we can see that mobile connectivity stands at 127.8%. This figure indicates that many individuals may have more than one mobile device, emphasizing the prevalence of mobile technology in our daily lives. When it comes to internet access, Brunei Darussalam is well connected, with 98.1% of the population with access to the internet. And social media penetration in Brunei Darussalam, 94.4% of the population is engaged in social media platforms. This indicates not only high internet usage, but also active participation in the digital landscape. As we can see, the utilization of digital services is very prominent in Brunei Darussalam. With such extensive digital connectivity, it's safe to assume that there is a high usage of digital financial services in the nation. Moving on to the next slide, we will explore some of the digital financial services that we have available in Brunei Darussalam. So next slide, please. Yeah. So here I'd like to present only some of the digital financial services and initiatives in Brunei Darussalam. We have online banking, which is to manage your bank accounts and perform various banking activities through their online platforms or websites. We have mobile apps offered by financial institutions for banking, insurance, financing, securities, services. We have the virtual MasterCard, which is a form of digital payments It's a prepaid card that gives you flexibility and control when using it for online purchases. Next, for fintech, not yet. Sorry, can you go back to the previous slide? Yeah. For fintech, currently there are 2 entities in the central bank's regulatory fintech sandbox. There's one company developing their e-remittance platform, which also adopted their eKYC solutions for seamless online onboarding. The other entity is currently developing a crowdfunding platform. It is to provide MSMEs and startups another vehicle for financing. For online credit report, the Brunei Darussalam Central Bank offers financial consumers to extract their credit reports and other information online. For financial consumer protection, BDCB has issued various notices and guidelines. This includes the Notice on Market Conduct, which encompasses safeguarding the interests of financial consumers in relation to digital financial products and services. The BDCB also issued a notice for the establishment of a complaints handling function within financial institutions to require banks and financial institutions to improve further their existing redress mechanism to address financial consumer complaints effectively. For the other digital payments, this may include e-wallets as well as payment through QR codes. And for national payment infrastructure, this refers to the real-time gross settlement system and the automated clearinghouse systems. As we can see, the prominence of digital services and availability of digital financial services offered in Brunei Darussalam, it is also important to note that financial literacy has a relationship and a role to play in ensuring financial consumers are well empowered with the skills and necessary knowledge. Next slide. So here I would like to present some of the financial literacy initiatives that have been undertaken. For the first one, the BDCB has conducted a wide variety of programs ranging from large-scale financial literacy events, such as the recent National Savings Day, to smaller events such as financial planning courses and financial talks. BDCB regularly delivers talks and courses throughout the year on financial planning, debt management, consumer protection, as well as benefits and risks of digital financial services. For the second initiative, the financial literacy awareness materials, including topics touching on digital financial literacy, such as digital payments, cybersecurity, and online financial scams, are regularly shared on Brunei Darussalam Central Bank's Instagram account. A booklet has also been produced, which covers topics ranging from financial planning, takaful and insurance, debt management, and investment to digital financial services and consumer issues. We also have interactive financial literacy activities that are conducted during our financial roadshows and exhibitions. This is to promote awareness on protection and risk of digital financial literacies as well. And lastly, radio capsules to raise awareness on risks of unlicensed financial services and scams on digital platforms. The for the third one, National Financial Literacy Council, they began launching the Brunei Darussalam Financial Literacy Competency Framework for school children and adults in 2021. The framework aims to serve as a reference to the ideal financial competencies of individuals at different life stages in order to enhance their financial knowledge and understanding. Some elements of digital financial literacy are introduced at this stage, including understanding the pros and cons of online shopping, as well as understanding the basic characteristics of financial scams. For the National Financial Literacy Survey conducted in 2022, the survey is based on the OECD INFI toolkit, and it's aimed to measure the level of financial literacy in Brunei Darussalam. The survey is aimed to be published at the end of this year, and among some of the key questions asked include elements of digital financial inclusion and financial literacy. Lastly, to move on to the next slide, understanding that in enhancing digital financial inclusion and literacy in Brunei Darussalam, there comes some challenges as well. Some of the challenges identified in this presentation is data, vulnerable groups, as well as emerging threats. For data, which was also highlighted in the OECD presentation earlier, the availability of accurate and comprehensive data on financial inclusion and literacy is crucial for the central bank to make well-informed policy decisions, effectively target the audience, monitor progress, maintain financial stability, and promote economic growth. Without the data, there's a risk of making less effective decisions that may not be relevant or address the needs of the underserved population in Brunei Darussalam. Additionally, there are also challenges on streamlining data indicators and definitions at a national level. For the second point, vulnerable groups, it is to ensure that vulnerable populations, such as the unemployed, low-income individuals, the elderly, and youth, can access and benefit from the digital financial services remains a critical challenge. For emerging threats, the increasing prevalence of online frauds and scams poses a significant challenge to digital financial inclusion and literacy efforts. These threats undermine the trust in digital financial services and hinder the progress towards greater financial inclusion. On the way forward, we have 5 points here. The first point on national digital ID. This is building upon the framework of the Brunei Darussalam Central Bank's notice and guidelines for eKYC solutions. The introduction of an NDID can further strengthen our financial ecosystem by streamlining account opening, enhance transaction security, improve remittances and cross-border payments, particularly when made interoperable with the other Asean member state systems. Additionally, NDID will also play a crucial role in bolstering anti-money laundering and combating the finance of terrorism, AML-CTF checks. In tackling the challenge on data, as mentioned in the previous slide, the National Financial Literacy Survey was conducted to measure digital financial literacy based on the OECD INFI toolkit. The findings will present the behavior, attitude, knowledge towards digital financial services and allow the central bank to better craft future digital financial literacy initiatives. On the demand-side financial inclusion survey, the purpose is in conducting to gather detailed and accurate information about financial behaviors, access, preferences, and the needs of individuals and households within Brunei Darussalam. Robust cybersecurity measures as well as financial consumer protection will continue to be prioritized because they create a secure digital environment, gaining trust and confidence in users to fully engage with digital financial services. And lastly, to improve digital financial inclusion and digital financial literacy, our pursuit is essential to recognize that DFI entails more than just providing access and accessibility and availability of digital financial services. It is also equally important to facilitate the adoption and utilization and ensuring the quality of these services. This extends to digital financial literacy, where enhancing financial literacy becomes very pivotal. I think that marks the end of my presentation. I now pass the floor back to Bianca. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Izan. Thank you for sharing with us the experience of Brunei and what you have been working on. And also thank you for highlighting the importance of data once again. I mean, we all agree on this. And of course, as I mentioned also yesterday, for the OECD, having data, measuring what we are doing is extremely important. Having a baseline to know where we're starting from and where we're going, it's extremely important. And I will do a very short promotion now of the OECD's Digital Financial Literacy Questionnaire, which is coming up in, this year. It will be finalized and hopefully published, and encouraging all those that are interested in using it to get in touch with us in case you are willing to collect data with using this new, fresh and exciting data set and questionnaire. So with this, I would like to thank once again all my speakers and to turn it to you, the audience, to see if you have questions. Yes, I have two questions over here in the front at least. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to ask to our colleagues from Malaysia, Mr. Noor Rafid Nasri. I was amazed with all of the information about digital financial literacy that you are running in Malaysia. We in OJK also run that kind of programs, such as a website and then material for high school up to university, elementary school, whatever. But still the result is not quite good enough. From our survey, the financial literacy is far below the financial inclusion. So because our aim is still same with you, not only to get people to have a bank account, but also to increase their well-being. So our nation can prosperous after people well-being increase. So I would like to ask, from your experience, what kind of program or maybe initiatives that can be a breakthrough? Because from our experience, the outcome from door-to-door or traditional financial literacy program is better than the digital, but the cost and the effort is very high. So we need to do the digital financial literacy. Please share your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I have another question here in the front. If I can take a second question, please. Can you raise your hand, please, so that I can see you? There.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Ratna. I would like to ask Sir Boma Karaheng and Sir Izan Amer. I have two questions. The first question is, in each country, actually, they have a specific issue for the financial literacy. But for the Sir Boma Kara, I would like to know, from among the financial literacy strategy that developed in Cambodia, I would like to know which one is the most effective and the most challenging one. And the second is, you've mentioned the specific strategy for increasing financial literacy for women. I would like to know how long the period designed to achieve that target, because you've mentioned from decreasing a half of the financial literacy in women. And the second one for Sir Izan Amer, we know that many institutions develop financial literacy survey. And in your presentation, you were emphasizing the importance of data. And I would like to know the uniqueness from your national survey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me see if there's more questions. Okay, two more. I get two more questions. These are the last two questions, and then we'll turn to the speakers, please.
Yes, Assalamualaikum. My name is Agi from AFSI, Association Fintech of Syariah Indonesia. I would like to ask you from BNM, how is DFS, how you create the DSF as a disruptive movement? What do you think of specific incentive that will work in the future, in the near future, for the DFS? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. One more question of the gentleman there in the back.
Okay, thank you. My questions go to Mr. Noor from BNM. There's a lot of initiative using a campaign in which the flow of information and in the first touch able or at least touch the awareness. But the problem is how to maintain, because the update of innovation of those financial services is quite moved forward. And usually the campaign, we lost the contact as well. So how to nurture that kind of situation, because the campaign itself is cost money a lot. And maintaining those kind of situation needs a strategy to make sure the nurturing of the literacy rate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a lot of questions for Noor, for Mr. Bomakara, and for Brunei. So let me start with Mr. Bomakara. Let me start with Cambodia. So we hear from you first.
Thank you for the question. With regard, I think I have two questions. One is about the, how to make the effective and what are the effective of the French education strategies and the challenges of implementing the French education strategies. Actually, we don't have French education strategies yet in Cambodia, because when we start to establish national French inclusion, then we have inserted the French inclusion strategies inside the national French education strategy inside the national French inclusion. So we don't have education strategies. However, we still think that this is very important when we promote French inclusion. So we work with many stakeholders as we implement it. As I have been shown about who are the stakeholders who involve when we cooperate in enhancing French education in Cambodia. Regarding to effectiveness, I think every cooperation have different objectives and they provide different results. For example, if we promote it, if the cooperation with the Ministry of Education, it means the people is for overall, especially for the students from grade 1 to grade 12. But when we coordinate with the other stakeholders regarding to example like UNESCAPE, Good Return, and CMA, they are also different audience. So the audience are widely classified in different target group, but each of them have achieved their goal. I think the one of the effective in implemented is the cooperation between NBC and the stakeholders. One example, Ministry of Education. So we have a good cooperation between NBC and Ministry of Education, how to work together effectively. So we bring synergies between the two institutions to make up an effective national education roadmap on this. And the same way for the cooperation between the NBC with other stakeholders, example, Good Return, UNESCAPE, CMA, ABC, and UNCDF. But the challenge is about the risk keep moving, so we cannot do set one and stop it. We still keep continuing. We might keep continuing to improve our our education strategies, French education roadmap, to ensure that this roadmap would capture with the development of the French product. For example, when we're starting to develop NFIS, we have only mentioned about French education, but we know any mention about digital French literacy. So now we have to work with digital French literacies, but do we need to ensure that only when the NFIS has been finished for the term, the new NFIS has been adopted and we start to promote digital financial literacies? No. When the banking system has been developed, when people use more digital financial literacies, then we can start to working on at that time. We don't need to wait until the new version of the strategies to be established. So this is what we implement. Then the challenge is about human resource. It needs human resource to fulfill this kind of job, these big responsibilities. Frankly speaking, in Cambodia, as a national bank of Cambodia, we don't have a department of financial inclusion. We only have division of financial inclusion. If we have 4 people who work for that division. And imagine 4 people who work for the financial inclusion for the whole countries, work for financial literacy for the whole countries, and also work for consumer complaint with the banking system. So there's a lot of challenge, and we have a limited resource to implement this. And another question is regarding to women empowerment. I think we all accept it and we recognize that women is very important. When the strategies has been set decreasing women excluded from 27 to 13% by 2025. That's because of, based on the FinScope surveys in 2015 and 16, we can see that women who been access to financial services, both formal and informal, has 70%. So 73%. So 27 is excluded. But when we do the second FinScope surveys in 2021, the result is not as what we expected. The women who excluded is not 27 anymore. They increased to 30 something, to 31. So we can see that this is not gonna reach our objective because excluded even more. That is also because of by the time that we set up the goal decrease from 27 to 13% because of overall. But that also includes the women who access to informal. But when we do the surveys during the pandemic through mobile tracking survey, we can see that the women who access to formal services has been excluded. So the 61% of women who access to formal financial service remain there, but the 12% of women who excluded, who access to informal financial service is not there anymore. It means that if people who use formal financial services, they would easily continue access to that even during the pandemic. But for the people, especially for women who use informal financial services, if anything happens that might affect to their abilities to access to the financial services. So we encourage them, so now we encourage them to access and use only for the formal financial services. We are well protected and have been regulated by the National Bank of Cambodia. In addition to that, there's more that we should do because the gap is even further. So that's why we had to put more effort in promoting financial literacies for women access to finance, and especially to protect women who are using the digital financial service and also financial service in Cambodia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I know we're running a little bit out of time, but I have two more interventions. I would like to give the floor to BNM.
All right, thank you. In the interest of time, I'll try to give a general answer for three because I think the question is quite similar because one is asking about what program works and what are the incentives for the FL and also how to maintain the level of awareness of the FS, right? Unfortunately, there is no one answer that can fit all. As you can see, the numbers is also showing our digital financial literacy is also low. That's why we are doing a lot of work at the moment to see what works. And our survey was last done in 2021. The next round, we are going to do it next year, 2024, because it's a triennial survey. So by that time, maybe we can see if there's any changes and we'll know better what works and what not. But basically, in general, what I think that would work is that we should always try new ways of doing things. For example, I touched a bit just now that we have our annual My Duit Story kind of a competition where we have a team, for example, team on savings, teams on digital financial literacy, or teams on scams where all the tertiary education students can join the competition, create a video about how to increase the awareness. So in this way, they are getting involved in all these things, so they will find out all the information that's required, and hopefully it becomes a hype, and they will always have that in mind when they are doing any digital financial transactions. And we also need to do, and that is part of our targeted approach, because our approach or our service is also showing that our youth is also susceptible to all these digital financial scams, for example. So that's why we do targeted approach on this. And another thing that I can think of is that we need to be consistent. We need to continuously remind all our public about this digital financial literacy. And more importantly, I think it cannot be done by one organization. It needs to be a whole nation approach because this is too big to be done by one organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You had indeed the most difficult questions about, yes, impact and behavior and how to maintain that. So again, I would like to give you the floor for the last question to answer. It was a question about data, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think the question was on the importance of data and how we have anything unique to kind of assist us in kind of assessing and monitoring our financial literacy and inclusion. For the two surveys we mentioned, the OECD the National Financial Literacy Survey, which is based on the OECD INFI toolkit. How we kind of improve it or make it more relatable is we kind of localize some of the questions. For example, we removed e-money providers because that is not available in Brunei Darussalam. And we further included questions on Islamic finance because that is, as an Islamic country, Islamic finance plays a big role in the financial sector. So I think in that sense, that's how we kind of improve our data collection and monitoring for financial inclusion and financial literacy.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you also to those that asked the questions. Thank you for your answers. I think we are reaching the end of our session. I just want to take a couple of moments to thank everyone once again for being here today. I want to give special thanks to the colleagues from Indonesia that have hosted us and that have been amazing to work with. I also want to thank all the ASEAN member countries. We have started our... open for 2 more questions. We have more time for questions. I'm sorry about that. Apparently we have more time for questions. Are there more questions? Yes, one more question here. Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry for asking so late. I'm from Indonesian Fintech Society. It's an association, not association, but it's a society that we are talking about policy forum discussion of ex-regulators and a lots of forum, lots of people from the industry and others. One of the things that come up lately, and I'm sure it happens in all your countries, is about the fraud management. We understand that the more we're talking about digital financial services, the more we understand that there's a huge amount of fraud that are happening in the systems and that have to be handled properly by the authorities as well as the industries. And it's not easy because we are using artificial intelligence. All the hackers are also using artificial intelligence. So there's always a fight of more pandai lah. We are talking in Malay. The smarter you are, the smarter the smarter the hackers become. So it's always like that. So one of the things that I'm sure is also happening is where they send to our WhatsApp or whatever, Facebook, something.apk, invitation, wedding invitation.apk or something.jpg with the J is the high J, big J or capital J. And what happens, and once you click it, then suddenly all your money in the bank or in the fintech accounts gone, sucked by that. Now, there is so much literacy education can do, but there is a lot that both regulators and the industry have to do for that. Now, we understand that this kind of things is always a criminal it has the criminal articles, it falls under the criminal law. And because it falls under the criminal law, then it goes to the police and all those kind of processes. But we are running against time because once money goes out from one bank to another bank or from one fintech to bank or one bank to fintech, in minutes, money will go again from that. So we are really running against time for that. And we cannot afford to go to the process, to the regular process of crime, of reporting crime and all those things, because then when we come to talk about to people's consumer protection and things, the request is like, please give back our money. That's only that's the only money that we have. You know? So those kind of things. Now, from your experience in your respective countries and esteemed regulators, institution, what is now to what extent now you are doing for that? You know, here Indonesian FinTech Society was having about 3 weeks ago, we are holding a seminar with FSA and Bank Indonesia, and we are talking like two things. One is Bank Indonesia and OJK, FSA, is combining effort to make a blacklist of fraudsters blacklist. But that is good in itself, but not enough, because then what people are wanting is like, please give our money back. Now, the industries know, have lots of knowledge which accounts actually are used, or with where the money runs from one account to another, either within the same institution or another institutions, and we actually have the time to block them. And returning is something else, but we have the time to block them if the regulations allow us to do so. Now here, a lot of regulations, of course, is a pro and cons, because it's a criminal processes and all. So how about, and so we in the industry has started to talk, like, how about doing just bilateral with indemnity? No, each other's indemnity. And also, I just want to understand, comparing with your experience in your respective countries and regulators. Thank you to all. Thank you.
Thank you for your question and for bringing this issue for discussion. I think we may need a lot of time to discuss this into depth, and we don't have it, but let me see if the colleagues would like to volunteer to answer this question.
Thank you for the question. Actually, it's more raising about the topic to be discussed here, like about the development of the fintechs. I also mentioned in my previous talk that we're now done holding a wallet, but we're holding a mobile phone we use for settlement, for money transfer, all of this. But if you look at last week's report of the World Economic Forum, we can see that the random surveillance attack have been rising around 150% in the global. We can see the case of Costa Rica to be declared that the national emergencies because of random affected. We can see last 2 weeks, the Bangladesh Central Bank has suspended several internet online because of the attacking to the system. And this is important because it would affect to the banking system as a whole. But in our country, in Cambodia, I think the collaboration is very important. Every stakeholder had to be participate in that. One, as a National Bank of Cambodia, we have issued an IT risk guideline. We call IT risk management guideline for all the bank and financial institutions to adopt it and to follow it. So especially for the commercial bank who take deposit from customers, so they have to implement this guideline properly to ensure that they have a strong IT system wall to protect it, the taking from overseas, from outsiders. Number two, besides that, the cooperation with others, for example, we had cooperation with the police to announcement about the prohibiting on cryptos businesses. We don't allow any cryptos within the Cambodia sectors. We also work with other stakeholders to improve this, also Ministry of Post and Telecom. Last few days, the Ministry of Post and Telecom also mentioned announcement the news to public about using Telegram, to make sure that they had to be careful when they use Telegram, not just click to any link that message sent it to. In addition to what this, the NBC also announced the risk that might happen while using financial service, digital financial services. Example, you might receive a call from some people that have an emergency or a message from people, one message, normally one message, and exactly the same example I shared with Bianca, and then there's the same one message from Bianca, but actually it's not Bianca, but the voice is the same, but the people just send direct the money through without make any clarification with the direct Bianca needed, no calling, no account verification, so then the money has been sent. So this is also another announcement that we have been done to the public, that as the users, you have to be careful on every transaction that you use, especially through an electronic and mobile platform. So everyone have responsibilities to participate to prevent the risk that might happen from using the fintechs, the digital financial services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to?
Maybe I can share a bit about Malaysian experience. Again, scams is something that requires whole of nation approach as well. In Malaysia, we have set up a national task force consists of the police, us as the central banks, with the banks, and ministries, relevant ministries like communication ministries. And we have also set up a hotline call center. So if you are being scammed, you should call that hotline as soon as possible, so that it will increase your chances for the banks to be able to freeze your account before it gets transferred to other accounts, third, fourth account, and eventually withdrawn or go outside the country. So that's one that we have been doing. Second thing, we have also asked the bank to implement a few other securities measures. For example, now, I mean, we are also having same regulation where it will be a bit difficult for the banks to straight away freeze your account, right? So now we ask the banks to make sure that from their mobile banking app, each consumer can freeze their own account at any time. So if they have been conned once or they notice that their money has been flowing out without their authorization, they can freeze the account. So at least it will stop future unauthorized transactions to be done. And there's also another one that I can think of is a cooling off period, where one account can only be registered to one mobile devices, and if you want to change to another mobile devices, for example, if a scammer get hold of your details and wants to transfer to a different mobile devices, there will be a 24 hours or 12 hours cooling off period before the new mobile devices can be used to do online transactions. So, but again, those are just after event. That is more on cure part. But we always hear prevention is better than cure, right? So when we look at this issue, I think one of the most important thing why this happened is because of mule accounts. Because these scammers are not going to transfer the money to their own personal accounts. Even if they do, once that gets reported, the accounts will be suspended and they won't be able to scam anymore. So they are using mule accounts. So that's why in our targeted approach, we also approach the youth to give awareness about these mule accounts and make sure they don't give their accounts or let their accounts be used by these scams as mule accounts. And we also explain the implication that if you do share your account with all these scammers, what will happen to them? Because it is actually a crime to share your account with other people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Lau.
Thank you. We had an experience too regarding that fraud that this is also happened. I believe that because of the bank and also the financial the institution high bearing of the risk because you are that one. That we are also bank allowed that we are noticed that then let the bank and the financial to pay more attention regarding the fraud or when you're doing some like mobile payment, mobile banking in transaction, we just raise that, not think that you are in the wrong way to go. Also that the bank also educated that the customer where they're going through that the payment or online payment in this regard to save the problem. And you know that we because relative to the crown, when you are going to process, it takes a long way to go. This is, we know that my personal also has the experience that still have that case that we're going to solve the problem when we go to the course. This take long time to go to, and it costs a lot of that time and money that you know that the bank and also the financial need that money back. We understand that feeling and the impression of the one, but when we go into the court, we have to respect to the law and the processing of that, how to pursue that kind of the loan to get back from that one. It takes time. This is frequently happen in Laos. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think we're running out of time now, I guess, yes? Okay. So, thank you for your question and thank you for your answers. I hope you got some inspiration. I see you raising your thumb, so that's good. And I'm coming back to concluding then and to thank once again everyone who was kind enough to participate today in the panel discussions, to the audience, of course to our host, Bank Indonesia, for having us today. It was really a pleasure yesterday, today. Congratulations on an amazing Digital Financial Inclusion Festival. It was a lot, I learned a lot, and also it was a lot of fun to be here and experience the ASEAN community. Thank you very much. And also thank you for collaborating with the OECD this year. I think that was a really great start. We had a lot of work that we have done, and it was a privilege for us, like Chiara mentioned at the beginning of her presentation. We had a roundtable in February. We worked together, and thank you for inviting us to work together with you on the implementation guidelines and this roundtable. We are really keen, and we are really looking forward to continue this collaboration with ASEAN, with the working group, and let's make it happen. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone, and I wish you to enjoy the lunch, I guess.
All right, thank you very much to all panelists and moderator. Please remain on stage, and we kindly invite Ibu Yunita Resmisari and Ibu Elsha Chani. We have a token of appreciation from us, Bank Indonesia, to all speakers and moderator. Please, Ibu, join us on stage. Ibu Yunita Resmisari will give the token of appreciation to Mr. Izan Amer from Brunei Darussalam Central Bank. And followed by to Mr. Khamfilai Kadudom from Bank of Laos PDR. And also to Mr. Nur Rafid Nazri from Bank Negara Malaysia. Ibu Elsha Chani will give the token of appreciation to Mr. Bomakara from National Bank of Cambodia and to our moderator, Ms. Bianca from OECD. Okay, Ibu, please, we will have a photo session. Ibu Elsha and Ibu Sari, please join us on stage in the middle, Ibu. All right. All right, please allow me to count backwards in 3, 2, 1. Once again in 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much, and let us give a big round of applause, everybody, for this very much distinguished session for today. To all speakers and moderators, Ibu Sari and Ibu Elsha, please kindly return to your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, as Helen Keller once said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. We believe what is presented today will bring benefits to all of us, especially for us in ASEAN member states. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have finally reached the end of our session for today. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us today. Hopefully it was insightful session for all of you as it was for all of us here in Jakarta Convention Center. We provided lunch in the next to the seminar room, and also we invite all of you to watch the cultural parade that will be held in Kampung ASEAN next door. Please enjoy the rest of your day here in ASEAN Fest. We have so many interesting agenda, and we kindly we invite again all of you to attend the seminar tomorrow in the third day of ASEAN Fest 2023. On behalf of the committee, we sign off and we hope to see you again tomorrow. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.